Human beings who are living according to strong sustainability, for a start, will live knowing that they are a part of natural ecosystems and will mould and adjust everything that they do to recognise that point. So there will be systems of government at the international level, national level, and at community level, and I might say especially at the community level, which require or provide frameworks for those adjustments to take place. In terms of our economic activity, rather than having measures based upon growth and material wealth, as though that means success, we'll have measures which relate to undertaking our economic activities within those boundaries which result in the ecosystems of which we're a part remaining healthy and resilient. So that is there. This will have huge effects on what human beings gain their happiness and satisfaction from. Much less from material goods and much more from interacting with people, various forms of community activity, perhaps more personal introspection, but our lifestyles will change substantially. One of the benefits of this is almost certainly that communities will become much more vibrant, active and enjoyable. So rather than living in communities which are in many cases not much more than dormitories so that you can sleep there overnight and work away at a weekend on your lawn and so on, but you have your life somewhere else, your working life anyway and a sporting life somewhere else. There'll be much more going on for individuals within communities. There'll be a much reduced requirement to travel. If we're getting more of our satisfaction and sense of well-being from being in the communities will form so that within reasonable proximity to where you live, most of what you want to do with your life will be right there. Of course, the increases in the costs of energy will provide a strong economic incentive for that anyway, and so we'll see much more mass transportation, public transport, use of bicycles, small electric vehicles and so forth. Another part of a strongly sustainable society on a global basis is that there is probably much less international trade. In other words, the processes of globalisation that we believe we've enjoyed so much over the past 20 years or so are, even as we speak, beginning to wind down substantially. And as we move more and more towards strong sustainability, they'll decline even further. There will be still some international trade because the theory of comparative advantage will still be alive and well. But nevertheless, the main point for every part of the globe and the globe as a whole is to live within its ecosystem boundaries. And that will mean, I believe, less trade and more production of the essential goods and services, those that we really need, closer to where we live. So at a practical level, we'll see more fresh produce, for example, food of various kinds produced relatively close to the people who want to buy them. And the idea of farmers' markets and so on, which we see at the moment, will probably burgeon. Another aspects of a strongly sustainable society will be energy. All of the energy that we need will be produced in a renewable way. And I would expect that advanced technologies and solar energy will have a huge impact on that. Can't let this pass without saying that there'll be a radical change in our financial systems. Our current financial systems will require continual growth in order to maintain their integrity. In a strongly sustainable world, there can be no continuous growth. There'll be growth within parts of it and declines in others. There'll be dynamics, but not overall growth. And therefore, we cannot have a financial system based on that either. And so we'll have banking systems which actually hark back to our past. Well, we know how to do this, it's just that we've kind of forgotten and shoved them aside. And so there'll be different approaches to money and banking, and money will take on quite a different meaning, a much more old-fashioned one, in fact, where money is simply the means of establishing the terms of trade or the terms of barter between individuals who want to buy and sell things, rather than money being an objective in its own right. Point that I haven't mentioned is population. We cannot have strong sustainability with a growing global population, or for that matter, growing national populations on a widespread basis. This, in some sense, is what some of us would call the elephant in the room. Very few people want to contemplate and discuss this. But we will have to get our heads, and probably more importantly our hearts, around the idea that, if you like, unfettered human reproduction is something that is incompatible with strong sustainability. My own view is that when we as humans take on board the ethics and values that I referred to before, this actually won't be a difficulty. We will see that to have a society that will be here not only for ourselves but for our children and our grandchildren, then our rates of fertility, our rates of reproduction will need to be managed from a societal point of view so that that can be achieved. And everybody will see that, and some fair systems will be introduced which enable that to happen. Now, I can see all sorts of difficulties with that. There will be religious difficulties with it. There will be the rights of individuals against the well-being of society. Well, we're just going to have to get through that, because if we continue to plough along towards 9 billion people or 11 billion people on a global basis, we're all going to fall over the cliff. So that realisation has to come to us, and I think that will be a happy situation, because it will be something of a relief to know where we stand. I believe that the whole movement towards strong sustainability will be a relief to a lot of people once they've accepted the view that the current way of living cannot continue. And that's the big step there. As soon as that acceptance is there, the pathway will seem almost a joy to be part of.
Start the debate and discussion now about economic alternatives. Stop accepting that the way we live now is something we cannot change, because we can.